Okay, here's the second segment. Yeah, the regular laws of metaphysics. I've taken a lot of instruction at the macroscopic level about when I'm thinking about randomness from uh, quantum mechanics because I figure, well, when you look at physics like that, you get a really refined concept of you know it came from a real world experience. Certain events were in this idea of randomness. Then we looked at it in physics and we saw what randomness could really mean. Because some things that seem random aren't. And then we see, oh wow, there is still fundamental randomness. So, for example, I was about to say in quantum mechanics, there is nothing is 100% certain. There is no 100% certain place. That's the whole point. And that's the sense in which it supports a kind of relativistic argument. However, there are many, many places of 0% probability. So there are many places, and this was always cool to me in my physics. Oh, and by the way, my background, I don't like to give my background because I think often it seems like I'm arguing from an authority or saying that it matters pro or con, and I'm not open to an argument that I don't have a good enough background to discuss these things, and I'm not open to arguments that, you have to believe me because of my background. But I did get a philosophy degree in college, and I took 2.5 years of physics, 3 years of mathematics. I could have declared the majors. It was full time, like the full time students did. I was always interested in those subjects. I might have got those degrees, but I was never wanted to go into physics so much. But I was applying it to philosophy just because I was interested. Okay, so anyway, I found that interesting that even in the interval of a wave packet, that an electron can be somewhere between these 2 points, that there are places in there where there's zero chance of that electron being. So yeah, the randomness is very ordered and it's limited. And this works for me. I'm a relativist, and I believe, again, my concept of relativity is not from some philosophy like moral relativism, but metaphorically abstracting what relativism has turned out to mean in physics. So I believe in that you can't tell a freedom in itself, is it free or not. That'll be unanswerable. Like what's its velocity on its own? Velocity on its own. You will be able to compare two things and say which is more free. Okay, that is a relative definition of freedom. So that's more what I'm advocating. I wrote some notes to make sure I got through everything that I metaphor. Oh yeah, I was going to say in the end thing is that using science as a metaphor. Cognitive science right now is supporting an idea I always really believed just because I believe the poets, had this insight. It was from metaphor. And that science is about modeling, which I would learn in my science education as well as, sort of seeing that that's the case. And that modeling is, another word for metaphor in the broadest sense. And that, I don't know if you know, but cognitive science like Lakoff and Johnson right now, or the last 10, 15, 20 years, have working with linguistics and philosophy and psychologists, have studied how the human mind uses metaphor. And the base metaphors are time and space metaphors having to do with using our senses and our motor functions, being able to move the body. Okay, why it's important to use science for metaphors is because we'll never know the essence of something like free will. We'll never know the essence of how something is in its own self, or to have some phenomena, whatever it is, like our ego sensation phenomena. We're not going to have that for something else. So all we can have as metaphors, we can only say, hey, this is like something else I think I kind of understand, and triangulate on everything. And ultimately, if you break it down, it's all these sorts of metaphors, but that doesn't mean it's nothing. It just means that, we have the source, and really that source is our sensation. We keep getting sensations which seem original to us. It doesn't matter if it was a dream, there's still these same sensations. They would mean the same thing. The senses are consistent. When you dream, and it seems like the senses what you're seeing, it's not consistent. So you can tell the difference, but you can't tell what it is in its essence. So you can only really draw metaphors. So yeah. So actually, I appreciate the metaphor, and I guess at first I did see how the deterministic robot um, was more responsible. But in the end, no, I couldn't ignore the fact that if they're really, in both of those cases, the creators are the ones responsible. But then again, I'd hate the robot probably too. So, okay. Well, I think I covered everything. It wasn't totally organized, but except for that, I did cover everything. And I meant to end with the metaphor issue because I think that's a good bridge between science and philosophy is an agreement on model. And that we require models. And then you do want empirical ways to test those models, which, by the way, the cognitive scientists are doing. So it's a neat, meld of philosophy, empirical philosophy there, with the help of the behavioral psychologist.